Alright guys, welcome to a new video on this channel, and as you can see here, I have my wonderful TEARLAMENT deck in front of me, and this is going to be an extremely long video. I don't know how long, but it will be like above an hour, I feel like. And so this is going to be my preparation for German nationals. I've already did a lot of preparation, but I want to guide you through my deck a little bit and my choices, because I feel like this what I have here, especially for the main deck and the extra deck, is kind of the blueprint of what I want to run, like 95% chance. The side deck is very scarce, as you can see here, because those are the cards that I will 100% include, and then there's 3 cards in the main deck that I might put in the side deck, and you'll see in a second. But yeah, I want to talk about the side deck at last, and then the extra deck, and then obviously the main deck is going to be the focus here. All right. So, starting with the most important thing, is obviously we play the 3 girls, TEARLAMENT Chiron, TEARLAMENT Hafnet, and TEARLAMENT Merle. So, obviously the reason why we play them is because they're at 1. Yeah, just some little like facts and info, I would say, about these 3 girls. So, I've come to the conclusion in testing that we should never activate Hafnet going first when the enemy goes first. So that's like a thing, except if he, for example, Magnum Hoods and you have like an effect Magnum Hood and then you go first. While you go first, you just activate Hafnet all the time when you can. But during the opponent turn, you never do that. Never. A lot of decks have ways to get rid of Hafnet in the graveyard before he does anything, before she does anything. And so on and so forth. So, using Hafnet in the opponent turn is a thing from the past, and I would not recommend you to do this in the current environment, especially not with this version of the deck, because this version tries to play with the cards that you draw in hand, rather than the card that you mill of luck and chance, which I think is a deciding factor in order to win. With TEARLAMENT, I've had like a lot of success at locals already and at Dueling Book and online and in testing session against friends and stuff. So this approach definitely works wonders, but sometimes your mills are pretty suboptimal. I'm gonna talk about that later. Then we have Merle, which is it's basically the only TEARLAMENT girl that you are normal summoning sometimes. Because you can make use of her mystery effect. And Chiron is the one that you usually search if you do not normal summon Reinhardt. You search Chiron and just get rid of some bricks in your hand that are actually having a lot of value in the graveyard. Or you search Tikash. That's usually one of the things you do, but Chiron is a really broken card. Just unbrick your hand and make usage of these bricks in the graveyard. Yeah, but nothing else to be said about these girls. Obviously, they fusion summon in the graveyard. You don't need to know that, but because they already do. But there's one big thing I think that a lot of people are forgetting. Dominus Impulse is a card that's being played a lot currently, and it will be being played in German nationals, I feel like, because the meta doesn't really change. So you have to be careful when you do like a single TEARLAMENT name, or if you put it as last effect on the chain, because then it can go Dominant Impulse. The good thing about TEARLAMENT is you can chain block a lot of things, right? So if you're scared of Dominant Impulse, you can just go chaining 1 Hafnet and chaining 2 Solik, for example, and then that's not going to get Dominant Impulse. Anyways, next up, I'm gonna put them to the side. Next up, we have 3 TEARLAMENT Reinhardt. Reinhardt on normal or special summon is going to mill a TEARLAMENT card, a TEARLAMENT monster. And if he's milled to the graveyard, you can put a TEARLAMENT card from the hand to the graveyard or special summon him, but then he gets banished. Very straightforward. And unfortunately, Reinhardt does not have that much value anymore because Bahamut Shark is gone and so Toad is gone. And so I've thought about cutting him to 2, but it's not possible. You need to see Reinhardt. So whenever you play a game where you do not have that much TEARLAMENT access, milling Reinhardt feels so good because that means you have access to Kaleidoheart sometimes and like in most of the time. So yeah. But yeah, nothing much to be said about Reinhardt. He's level 4, he's water. There's nothing important about him, unless the fact that he summons Kaleido Heart and that he mills a Tearlament monster on summon. The only most important thing about Reinhardt is the interaction that I'm going to talk about later with Tearcash and Grief, which is essentially a mill 5, which replicates Agidu somewhat. Anyway, Tearlament Kashtira is something that also, I know I said it a little bit too late now, but I will divide this video in a couple of categories and I'll do the combos and stuff last. Yeah, Tearlament Kashtira is a crazy good extender. It's a crazy good card in the current format. It can get Dominus Impulsed, however, if the enemy doesn't have the trap in the graveyard, you can just use it in the opponent turn and he waited to summon negate. And if he's going to have a trap in the graveyard, the Tearlament Kashtira gets put to the graveyard by card effect, which means you mill 2 cards anyways. So the only thing you don't have then is a body. But yeah, this card's crazy. If it gets sent to the graveyard by card effect, it mills 2. On summon, it mills 3 from either side. Like you can choose which side. You usually chose yours, obviously. But yeah, this card is really good at an extender. And yeah, the only thing that sometimes sucks is that I don't really play that many Tearlament cards anymore in my Tearlament deck. So finding fodder for Tearcash to banish, or like to banish from hand or graveyard, sometimes it's hard. Because you usually only want to do graveyard anyways. But yeah, crazy card. We'll talk about that a lot in this deck profile. Now, a decision that has hurt me in ways that you probably cannot even understand is that Primeval Planet Pelarino in this version is at 2. The reason for that is a similar reason that Shun Ping gave in his deck profile, and that is that some of these cards in this deck you want to see all the time. You're going to see this throughout the deck profile, that there are cards that are at 3 that I do want to see at all given time possible. Then there are cards like Primeval Planet that sometimes I don't even want to see them, because even though it's a hell of a good card, it only serves me Tearlament monsters. And sometimes I don't need any of them in the current situation that I'm in. So if I play a lot with my other engine, then Primeval Planet is actually not doing like a lot of things, except if I can make Kaleido Heart with a Rhino Heart. So, but we have other means to do that. So to put an Aqua in the graveyard. But with Pearl Rhino, I usually search a Rhino Heart just to have one in rotation. But obviously, we can obviously not forget the fact that this card itself is one of the most broken field spells that exists in this game. Because it gives an 80k push not only to Tearlament monster, but also random generic fusions that you run in your extra deck to punch the opponent for threatening life points. But it also, the shuffle effect, whenever a Tearlament monster gets shuffled back into the deck, you can pop a card that's just hilariously broken. Because when you play the game well, when you play Tearlament well, it's basically a pop in every turn. Not in every of your turn, in every turn. Because we will play on the opponent turn a lot. So yeah, Primeval Planet, however, is only at 2 for this reasoning that I just gave. Grief, for example, is also at 2, which is usually a one-off, but in this version, Grief is actually not bad, because sometimes you just need extenders in the current in the current environment that we play in. We need a lot of extenders, and Tearlament Grief is a phenomenal extender in Tearlament, because you can special summon any Tearlament monster from the deck to the field, and then send a card with the same type of attribute, which is usually the Tearlament card, but sometimes it's something else, and that also can come up often. So yeah, Grief is a phenomenal card. I play that 2 of because I want to see it more often than having it as a one-off, but I also don't want to see it as often. And the nice thing with 2 Grief is you can actually use one and mill the other to get a trap back from the banishment, which is really nice, because you usually always ban traps with a Tearcash, or that's what you're trying to do. But yeah, Grief, Phenomena Extender. I'll talk about it in the combo part of this video later, why Grief is that important in this version. Because it essentially mills a lot of things. Like there are some niche combos for Grief that you can do, which are insane. Now, I'm going to do a shocker now. I'm only playing a single Scream, and reason is simply because I don't want to see that card anymore. It's good, but I do play other engines that are a little bit stronger than the Tearlament engine. But obviously, the Tearlament engine glues all of these engines together. It makes that deck extremely broken. I say extremely broken. It's obviously not as consistent as Malice and stuff. But the end board that you can put out, or the board that you can break with that deck, is quite a lot. Like, it's quite a lot to take in because you can do so much with the deck. And yeah, Scream, I usually just dump it off the Kaleido Heart after I pop it with Polar Rhino to add myself a Tearlament Trap. But in itself, drawing Scream is just really ass because it doesn't really do much for you. It doesn't get you going and stuff. It just, I mean, the thing is, milling is nice, but milling is only nice if you play a low card count. This is, by the way, 50 cards. So Scream is really good for that, but it's okay. It's an okay card. But I wouldn't, in the current environment, you do not need the 80k debuff. It's nice to have, but you don't need it. And playing it as a one-off feels really good in the current environment. I play one Meta Noise more so to counter the opponent, because usually you want play one Meta Noise because you want to play Underdrawn Lockbird. Because Meta Noise, if it gets milled, it adds from the graveyard, which circumvent Drawn Lockbird, which is being heavily played right now. But you use it currently as some sort of really, really broken interaction in the opponent turn. Because setting down or setting Monster's Fate down against Malice, for example, is hilariously overpowered. And then also Meta Noise can send Tearlament Monster, or has to send Tearlament Monster afterwards get used, or after it resolves successfully, which is really nice because that means you can set up plays on your opponent turn by dumping specific stuff in the graveyard and then using Meta Noise in a very nice moment in order to get like some very strong fusion monsters that we'll talk about later. But yeah, Meta Noise is a crazy good card. I would definitely play one of it. Don't know how I feel about multiple Meta Noise though. I tried, but I didn't like it that much. Now for another contender here is I play 3 Soliek. Also can be something that that is controversial, I would say. But in a 50 card version, you usually only play 2 Soliek and 1 Meta Noise. I, however, play 3 Soliek because I want to mill this card. So it's not like the mills on the deck are dead, but it's simply that the mill quality is not that strong. But when the mills hit, I want them to hit. And hitting a Scream doesn't feel as good as hitting a Soliek and drawing and getting an extender, for example. Also, when I play other engines in the deck, I mean, I can already leak a little bit. I play the Horus engine, for example, and the Zombie Vampire mulling 4 cards. It's a pretty high chance that if you didn't draw Soliek, and you used the Effect of Imcity and didn't draw Soliek there, you already thinned out your deck a lot by then, and milling the Soliek is actually like a pretty good chance, like a 40% chance or something, to mill the Soliek afterwards. So that's really nice. But yeah, Soliek is a crazy card, and also I will explain more what to do with Soliek in the combo part that's being put after I went through the deck, extra deck and side deck. But yeah, Soliek, crazy card, can definitely recommend playing it because the moment it hits the board, the opponent's kind of like stuck because Soliek negates the effect forever. A lot of people forget that. And it just sticks on the board. And if the opponent tries to remove it, you can just search a Tearlament Monster, which is a nice extender. Anyways, talking about extenders and possibly even in this deck a starter is Kashtira Fenrir. I do not only play 1, not 2, but 3 Fenrir because the phenomenal starter / extender. I mean, it's not an extender per se. It's an extender in an unusual way with Zombie Vampire. Because Zombie Vampire can mill a Fenrir, and then you can use that Fenrir to extend. In that way, he's an extender, but in other ways, he's a starter. And you might also ask now, okay, but this is not Kashtira, this is Tearlament, so Fenrir can obviously add the Tear Cash, which is a crazy card. But the thing is, I'll show you later. In this deck, you have quite the interesting normal summons that don't do anything, but if you link them off, for example, to go into the Fiendmask combo, then the Fenrir suddenly it's becoming a starter / extender, because Fenrir allows you to just go into for example, the full Fiendness combo by normal summoning something, like in Halfness, for example. So you use special Fenrir, normal Halfness, go Fiendness combo, as you can already see the engraver here. And then with the added tier cache that you have in hand, you can now banish the Fenrir from the graveyard if you have nothing else to banish. That's really, really nice. A great interruption in the opponent turn. A really, really great card to overall draw. Because even if you see Fenrir, like if you see it twice on the hand, there are people that get rid of this Fenrir before you can use the effect to add, like, that's definitely possible. And when that happens, you can just special it again. So it's really, really nice. It acts as like a really, really nice board breaker together with the Horus card that I also play. But yeah, I'll talk about Fenrir in a little bit more detail later. And yeah, as you can already see, the wonderful guy, we play 3 Fiendmist Engraver. And about the Fiendmist portion, I will go a little bit quicker on it. I play 1 Lacrima, 1 Fabled Lurie. Obviously, in American Platinum Secret Heroes, we can find him more often and easier. 2 Tract, and 1 Fiendmist in Paradise. So this is my Fiendmist engine, my little Fiendmist package. The reason why I have these ratios is simply because they have worked out the best. If you saw my other deck profiles from, for example, the Fiendmist Rydale list that I played, I also played this kind of ratio, simply because this ratio worked best. I'm being honest with you guys, 3 track is not really it in this deck. You don't want to dilute your mills even further, which you're already doing by putting cards in here that you will see later. However, milling Engraver, for example, is just awesome sometimes because you just get another extender, and you can just suddenly randomly make Deathery, even you make Cedar. And so milling the Engraver is not even bad. Sometimes you make Deathery, you don't have any Fiendmist stuff in the graveyard, and then you randomly go tier cache and every turn mill an Engraver, and you already know, okay, if that Deathery somehow gets outed, I can shuffle something back, and then on my turn again, I can special the Engraver, shuffling the Deathery. So this is really, really nice about TEARLAMENTS, that you can randomly mill Fiendmist cards, and they actually provide a lot of value. For example, with the Fiendmist in Paradise, sometimes you can just shuffle the Lacrima back with the Requiem, and you're like with the Engraver or with it for the Deathery or for some other fusions, and then the Paradise is already live because you milled it prior this turn. You play 2 Tract because you sometimes draw with Necroquip by having an Engraver and a Tract in hand, and then you use the Tract to get the Lurie, Engraver, Requiem special Lacrima, Lacrima dump Engraver, and then make Necroquip by attaching the Requiem to the Lacrima, and then you can use the Engraver in hand, for example, and then draw a card with Necroquip. So that's really nice. But yeah, the Fiendmist package is there. If you don't like the Fiendmist package, I can totally understand that, especially now that Lacrima and Tract are absurdly expensive in price. But the Fiendmist engine just complements this deck so well, and I'll show you later in the combos why that is the case. Anyways, next up we have the Horus engine. So as you can see, we're kind of gluing together some engines here that are just really, really good together with TEARLAMENTS. So first of all, 3 Imseti. We do run some amount of discard fodder for the Imseti, but not a lot. I can tell you that already. There's no Rainbow Bridge here. There is, however, a Trivikama, which is obviously a really nice pitch of the Imseti, but we don't really have that many crazy discard outlets for the Imseti. We have some that you will see later, but in all honesty, with this deck, you can set up your graveyard so nicely, so even if you don't have a crazy discard fodder for Imseti, you can still pitch something like Imseti and a Fenrir that you drew like as a second copy, for example, so your tier cache is live immediately before you have to link off the Fenrir on the field, for example. So that's like really nice. And yeah, the Horus cards, the reason why I play not only Harpy but also Duamutef is simply because as an endboard piece, Duamutef is a crazy card in this current format, because the strength of this version of TEARLAMENT and the strength of, or like how I try to build most of my TEARLAMENT versions is, if you watch the deck profile from the German Open in Frankfurt last year, you will see that the deck that I try to, or like the board that I try to create with TEARLAMENT are boards that your opponent usually cannot play through. And even if he baits all of that interactions, then he still has to push through all of these big monsters, right? And if all of that has happened, then the horrors cards are just coming back and back and back and back. But in order to play through your board, I have realized that people have to get rid of like either the King Targ to deny some follow up, or they just have to get rid of the Deathery, the Caesar, whatever. And obviously, there's cards like Imperm and Dark Ruler and Droplet that do it without removing the body from the field. But in case they ever have to remove the body on the field, it's really, really nice to go into Zombie Vampire with Harpy and Imseti and then summon the Duamutef as like some kind of end board piece. Because Duamutef reads that if a card has left the field from an opponent's card effect, then that you control, then you can draw a card equal to the number of main Monster Zone monsters you control with a different name. So if you have, for example, Tearlament Kaleidohard, Caesar, and Duamutef, you would draw 3 cards if they get rid of the King Card, for example. And with this deck, drawing 3 cards is crazy because you mill all your bad card in exclamation marks. And then you draw into crazy extenders and follow up, which is really, really awesome. Anyways, this is the Horus Monster ratio, and then I don't play 1 King Sark, don't play 2 King Sarks. I play a package of 3 King Sark, which is a little bit crazy, I guess, but sometimes you have hands, especially you'll see some inclusion of hand traps here, that sometimes are just not live on your turn, and then you can use them as a normal summon to go into Fiendsmith combo together with the Fenrir, or use King Sarcophagus to go into your Horus engine that way. But yeah, King Sarcophagus, I feel like it's a really nice way to unbrick hands and make usage of the Horus engine. Also, it threatens Imseti a lot, because what a lot of people are forgetting about the Horus engine is that you can put as many King Sarks as you want, obviously, right? And so 1 King Sark is good, but 2 King Sarks is better. Because if you draw King Sark with Imseti, you cannot use the effect of Imseti, which means you're not getting another draw for free. But for example, if I draw Imseti, Harpy, and a King Sark, and I pitch Imseti and Harpy, and they ash it, for example, or you Dominus Purge on it, I still have the King Sark. Because I run so many King Sarks that the chances of me drawing it is actually quite high. And this is the philosophy that I meant earlier with the 2 Pearl Rhino, the 2 Grief, etc. Sometimes I want to use these cards, but they don't win me the game. King Sark is winning me the game and the grind game and stuff like that. Because these cards are extremely powerful. They're not consistent, but they're really, really powerful. But yeah, let's get these cards out of the way, and let's talk about the elephant in the room, how I would like to call it. Because I do play some hand traps here, which is 6. But the hand trap that I will definitely play in German Nationals is more Charmy Perulia. Now, the reason why Perulia over any other is because it's, first of all, very strong in the meta right now, and second of all, it adds as an Aqua for Kaleidohard, which is really, really awesome that it comes up, because if you Perulia your opponent when he goes first, you already have 1 Aqua in the graveyard, which means 1 Rhinohard is doing the Kaleidohard, which is an insane interruption in the opponent turn, or like interaction. Not on the opponent, in your turn, when you play into the board. So, Perulia, crazy card. However, there are 2 cards that I think about playing in the German National, because this is still a video about German Nationals. So, I have tested around a lot with Molchami Fuvalas in the main deck, together with Molchami Perulia, and I kinda like the idea a lot, especially against Malice and stuff. It feels really, really good, because that means you can actually win going second against them, because you draw so many good cards and they kinda play into it. It just feels really fucking awesome. But Mitsurugi is also a thing that I have to worry about. Given I have to say something, I don't have to worry about Mitsurugi as much as I have to worry about Malice. I can break Mitsurugi boards with just 6 cards in hand without Charmies. But obviously Mitsurugi and other rogue decks also are very weak against Drone Lockbird, which I'm also testing. And no, I'm not playing Drone Lockbird, Molchami Perulia, and Molchami Fuvalos in the main deck. I play either Molchami Fuvalos together with Perulia in the main deck, or Perulia with Draw. The other one of them goes into the side deck, which is why my side deck is that low card amount right now. But yeah, I've tested a lot with Fuvalos. I really liked it. However, I still have to test withdrawal the same amount as I test with Fuvalos, just to make a good read, a good statement on how good these cards are. Um, but yeah, I just need to play games and games and games for that, and that's the only way to go about it. Um, but yeah, both of these cards are really, really strong in the current format. I feel like that Fuvalos is just hitting more decks, like a broader amount of decks in general, and it also makes you pretty much fine against Malice, because the more cards you draw, the more fine you are into the Malice matchup. Um, and yeah, drawing Lockbird is only good against specific decks, and drawing Lockbird for turn is really stupid, but drawing Fuvalos for turn sometimes good. Because if the enemy ends on IP Masquerena, you can go draw face Fuvalos, you're definitely getting a draw off that IP and stuff like that. So I feel like Fuvalos has like a little bit more niche application rather than draw, but draw in a lot of like situations is a turn ender for the opponent. That's really nice. Also, the good thing about draw is you can self-draw yourself in TEARLAMENTS when you get hit by Moshami not Purulia, Fuvalos in the Full Fiendmas combo. Because if you go Requiem, they chain Fuvalos and you have draw on hand, you draw cards, you draw them, and then it's fine. Okay, like you can go the Necroquip, you can go Sequent and Deathery, which is 3 draws, but that they don't get. Or Necroquip Cedar, which is 2 draws that they don't get. But yeah, one of them will be in my main deck, and the other one will be in my side deck. Either Fuvalos or Draw will be in the main deck, but not both. And Purulia will definitely be in the main deck, simply because she's an Aqua, which is really good, but also because you usually always get a draw of the Purulia. And yeah, other card that I will play in my deck for sure are Called by the Grave, which is an insane interruption in the opponent turn when you lay it face down. Like when you set it, I mean. But it's also a crazy board break going second if you play into boards currently. If you banish the Mitsurugi army from the graveyard when it tried to special itself and revive itself from the graveyard, you can just call by that, and then boom, they don't have a board wipe anymore, and they lack the follow-up. I mean, they still add, I think, but that's still fine. As long as your board doesn't get wiped, you can go into a lot of crazy stuff. Also against Malice, this card is literal FDK going second, because Malice relies a lot of their interaction on the Whitebinder. And so if you're caught by the Whitebinder when they try to special summon with GWC, I mean, then this is just like literally an auto win. So yeah, the caught by is really strong right now, and obviously going first, you can dodge hand trap with it, so that's really great. It's basically gonna be an auto conclusion from me. Unlike Talent, I don't main deck Talent currently, and I haven't been missing it, to be fair. So that's really cool. I do play Foolish Goods with some targets, Trivikama and Black Gold Loves, to name one or two. And obviously you still run the Soliag and Grieve and Metanoid and stuff that you can also hit with the Foolish Goods. But Foolish Goods, as you can see, is only one of. Because I don't value the Black Gold as much currently. It was a different story in the Ride format, because in the Ride format you need to resolve your Scream, your Trivikama, not Trivikama, your Scream, your Pelarino, your Kingsark. You need to resolve these things against the Ride matchup, and that was really hard under Detonator, obviously. So now that's why we played 3 Foolish Goods and 1 Black Gold Laughs. So going second, you can just go Foolish Goods, have a higher chance drawing it, send the Black Gold Laugh, Laughs called right the Detonator without you having anything on the field, and then their twins at that, their Detonator at that, and it's really like fun. But right now, right there's not that strong, and there are not that crazy cards, like that many crazy cards you can call with the Black Gold that are doing something crazy. So I only run 1 Foolish Good because it also dilutes the mills, and I don't want to dilute my mills even further. You can see the amount of bad mills I have is already like pretty high. And yeah, Trivikama gets you any card that mentioned Wither Starfrost, like any spell trap that mentioned Wither Starfrost, which is crazy, because that means it can add literally any Tearlament card. Because Metanoid, Celiac, Grief, Scream, even fucking Primeval Planet Pelarino, they all mention Wither Starfrost. So you can all add that with Trivikama, and it's also a phenomenal tool to play around Drone Lockbird. Because you can go Foolish Goods and Trivikama, or mill the Trivikama of anything. And then when you add something and they draw you, you can just chain Trivikama and add yourself another card before the draw resolves, which is really, really nice. And it's a really nice interaction that actually comes up quite often when you play this deck. And then there are 3 more cards that I want to talk about, and you can already see the other elephant in the room. How does my end board look like? Well, we play Hellshadow Hollow, which basically means that we are going for the Winder lock sometimes, more often than I like to admit. But the thing is, TEARLAMENT is really, really good at shitting out bodies and doing unfair things. So Winder, in my opinion, is not a floodgate. I know I will probably get hate for saying that, but it's okay. I think Winder is not a floodgate, simply because of the fact that Winder also applies to me, and I think that makes Winder an okay card to play against, and you can still special summon once, so that's fine. Winder doesn't have any crazy protection, you can just not destroy her by card effects, but who does that anyways currently, except Mitsurugi? So I feel like Winder is really fine. And also Hellshadow Hollow, not only for Winder actually, but also because Hellshadow Hollow can be a pseudo Agido in this deck. So that's really, really nice. But yeah, you can send him, by the way, if in case you're asking how you do that, you can send him with Eerie Eater, just a little heads up already for the extra deck. Because you usually always make the Caesar, and then you can go into sequence and make Eerie Eater, sending Hellshadow Hollow, and as you can already see by the numbers of cards that are on the field, you definitely have a Caesar, which is water. You have a sequence which is light, and you have an Eerie Eater, which is wind. So only with these 3 monsters, you are milling 3 cards already, which is really strong. And usually you have 4 or 5 more cards like on the board in terms of spell traps and monsters. So Hellshadow Hollow can mill a lot of cards. But yeah, the last other cards that I want to talk about are cards that I have not really been putting into the main deck at TEARLAMENT in quite a long time, because it has been not the strongest, especially not in the Rydia format. But I have found out that my wonderful 2 boys, Mudora the Sword Oracle and Keldo the Sacred Protector, are insane board breaking tools against Malice, Mitsurugi, and the likes. Not only because it breaks apart their board, but it also makes you way easier to play into the board sometimes, and also cuts them off any follow-up you can possibly they can possibly give themselves. So these cards are absolutely fucking broken. I still don't understand to this day why these cards are not hitting, like getting any hits on the ban list. Because they already had 1, but they are so strong. Whenever I see Modora or Keldo, I am half sure that I already won the game, even if I don't have that many interactions on the board, because these cards can stop the opponent in ways that the current like meta decks are not like protected against. Like if you remember, like for example, the Fiendsmith card, right? So if you have Modora and Keldo in the graveyard, let's just say you have both for fun's sake, or let's just say you have 1, it's fine, just 1 is enough. And they go in Requiem target the Lacrima. Then you're like, okay, I can literally shuffle that Requiem back together with the Engraver you milled and stuff like that, and then you don't have anything. And they still couldn't have Hasm Engraver in hand, but they cannot use it correctly because they need to get rid of this Lacrima in order to special the Engraver. But then they don't have enough tools to go into any fusion, and they also cannot go into into the Caesar. So milling either of these cards just cuts off the complete Fiendsmith engine from existing, and also it breaks board crazily against Malice. So what I do against Malice, sometimes I draw Imseti plus Modora, and then I can just fucking discard Imseti plus Modora and keep this guy in the graveyard, just keep playing. And no matter what he does, he cannot activate any effect that summons Whitebinder, simply because of the fact because Modora can just shuffle it back for free. And I literally do not care about anything else. So yeah, Modora and Keldo, crazy cards. And if you go first, these cards are obviously out of win because, I mean, as I said before, the current decks I feel like are not built against Modora and Keldo. You just can't. It's impossible. At least that's my humble opinion. Coming to the extra deck, I've already structured that one, and then so let's talk about it. So I do run the Tearlament Kaleido Heart, obviously. That one is a no-brainer, I would say. To the Fiendmith part, I do play one Fiendmith Deathery, one Eerie Eater, and one Nekoko Princess. So these are the fusions that I run that are Fiendmith oriented. And as you can see, the Eerie Eater is quite a weird one. I did that in the previous decklet where I used to send Shayama with the Eerie Eater to make Caesar that way. And also the Shayama could pop something like a Trivicama or a Soliak from my hand. But currently he's throwing the Herrscher Hollow on the graveyard to make Winda, which you can already see here. And it works phenomenal because you have an Eerie Eater plus the sequence on the board, and then you can just link them off to Sprint and Merly, make Winda. So even if you don't have any other play possible, you can go Eerie Eater, then Shadow Hollow, make Winda, and pass, and hope that it is enough. And I feel like one of these, I feel like that's not a bad thing to hope for. But yeah. Nekoko Princess, just talking about that one a little bit, you can not only trigger it off the Engraver, but you can also trigger it off the Imseti, which is something that a lot of people probably don't have in their head. And yeah, Deathery crazy board break tool. You may wonder now, why board break? Because I don't make Deathery that often going first. Caesar is just better currently. Because against the Mitsurugi ritual, you can just negate that. You can negate any Malice monster special summon, which is great. You can negate the Node from Rydiel, you can negate Ice Rydiel, and you can negate the Eclipse Twin and whatever. You can negate so much stuff with Caesar, it's really, really strong in the current format. So Deathery doesn't even get special that often in the first turn. Sometimes if I have just a correct hand and correct board and correct mills, I can do that with Caesar and Deathery. But usually it's not the Deathery on the board because I will send Deathery with the Fiendmith of Paradise to use it as another interruption in the opponent turn for sure. And going second, I always use the Fiendmith card as last resort. Because if you try to break or like try to play into their board, you use all of their interruption. They don't have anything left, but they still have a big ass board. You can just go effect Engraver in hand, and they're like, what the fuck, bro? And then you go for full Fiendmith combo, make Deathery. You send something with the Engraver, with Requiem. I'll show you later the combo. But essentially you correct board with Deathery very easily. And yeah, the Kaleido Heart obviously shuffles back. If it gets popped, you can send it to the graveyard. It sends a Tearlament card. More fusions, Winda, and then the obligatory Dragostapedia and Muttering of the Swamp. Unfortunately, I do not have Spade to fit Garura here in this list, which sometimes hurts me, but it's okay. I feel like Garura played a little bit too much into Draw and Lockbird. Because if you add something, make Garura, they already drawed you. The card just dead. But sometimes it would be really nice to have Garura just to mill, like to fuse back the two tier fusions, in case you milled them in a wrong time, I guess. And Winda, the crazy endboard piece, and obviously don't have to talk about that. And you always have to be aware of the Muddragon Dragostapelia loop. So your special Muddragon with a Tearlament fusion at the dark, and then Muddragon removes from the field, goes into the graveyard, and then you go Dragostapedia with a Tearlament fusion, which is a dark monster, and a fusion monster, which is Muddragon. And then you just put the Muddragon back into the extra deck, you have Dragostapedia, and then when the Dragostapedia gets killed and you fuse another time, you can just use the Dragostapedia and the Tearlament fusion because it's both dark and go into Muddragon. And that one just is an infinite cycle, and basically infinite way to use Perla Rhino with a second effect. But yeah, just informing you on that. And then yeah, one Zombie Vampire and one Caesar. Nothing important to talk about here. I feel like yeah, we make Caesar, it can negate summons, it's not once per turn, it's not once per chain, it's really broken. And Zombie Vampire is really funny because I always summon it in this zone, which is why autopilot putting it here. Because it cannot be targeted by the effect of monsters except that are special from the graveyard. And so I've had some people actually summoning Relinquished Anima targeting my Zombie Vampire. I'm like, you can't. That's really funny. But yeah, it mills 4 cards and you can special summon one of them. It's really, really broken. And then you, for the smaller links that are not Fiendmith links, I do play Sprite, Sprint, and SP. I think pretty self-explanatory to play Sprint. And SP is one of these flex spots I get together with Agnum Day that you can play. But, and Eerie Eater, I guess. Like Eerie Eater, SP, and Agnum Day are a little bit of your flex spots. Where you can show other things like Selene Access Code in Dark, for example, which is also really good with the Horus cut. Because the MZD is a spellcaster. But I do like Agnum Day a little bit more because of the versatility it gives you. And SP is always a phenomenal card in order to banish something important from the opponent. And then the other Fiendmas cards is one Agnum Day, one Sequence, one Requiem, and one Moon of the Closed Heaven. So you go into Moon, go into Requiem, and then stuff like that happens. Nothing much to say about these. They are just like, you have to play them, they're mandatory when you play Fiendmas. And yeah, let's talk about the side deck really quick. You already saw that I play either Fuvalos or Draw Lockbird in the main deck. So the other one is going to be in the side deck. So my side deck is this one guaranteed. This one is a guaranteed side deck that I will be playing at German Nationals for sure. These 8 cards are auto-included. Together with either Draw and Lockbird or Mochami Fuvalos. So which means that it will be 3, 6, 9, 10, 11 cards that will be auto-included, which means I have 4 flex spots, which can be, for example, 2 Bystials and 2 Lightning Storms, or it can be 2 Lightning Storms, 1 Talons and something else, like a Typhon or something, going second for going second. I'm just gonna like try to read the meta and see what's good and what not, and then make my decisions on that basis. Maybe Malice gets a little bit more stronger in Germany, or like in regional in general, or in national seasons, and then main or like side decking Chaos Hunter might be a thing. But we'll see how this is going to evolve. But yeah, Lancea for sure against Malice, very self-explanatory. Also against Crystron is really, really strong. Scattershot because you play a deck that's very grindy sometimes and goes into time. Sometimes you just need the Scattershot just to make sure that some of these games are not auto loss or draw, which would just suck because with that deck you can basically win virtually any matchup. Feather Duster is a really broken card currently because a lot of people side deck Solemn and other back row hate. So if you Feather Duster the back row, it's just GG. Especially Mitsurugi, for example, or Malice. If you Feather Duster the back row, they have to either use something to stop that, like the Echo Toka for Malice or the Purification from Mitsurugi, in order to negate this Feather Duster, just to protect the GWQ, for example, GWC, I mean, or the Mitsurugi Prayers, for example, which can tribute the armor to special attack and board wipe you. The reason why I play Solemn Strike currently over Solemn Judgment or Solemn Warning over Solemn Judgment, Solemn Strike, is because this is actually also really nice against Mitsurugi because it can negate the ritual spell, which is something a lot of people don't consider. I think Mitsurugi is going to be very strong and has to be approached with caution. And by playing Solemn Warning, this is obviously a good card that that I can use. Also, another card that I can probably play as a going first card in this deck is how it's called, Mischief of the Gnomes, because it's really, really good against Raidea and Mitsurugi. But I'll see about that. But yeah, this is my side deck for sure in German Nationals. Alright, so now that we talked about the side deck and the extra deck in general, I want to show you some combos. And I mean, it's not really going to be a lot of combos because I already explained like a lot of these things before. But when you play, let's say you don't play Drone Lockbird, because I've tested more with Fuvalos and Drone Perulia and put Drone in the side deck. But because I didn't expect that much Mitsurugi, to be fair. But with this version, you have quite the many normal summons, right? So the moment you draw, I mean, these don't really matter because you just go Fiendmas combo with them anyways. So if you draw Fenrir along any of these cards, and then the 3 goes. So if you draw Fenrir with any of these cards, I guess except the Fiendmas card because they already are for Fiendmas combo, then you see yourself in the 50 card version with 1, 2, 3 Fenrir, plus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 normal summons alongside the Fenrir. It's actually quite the high chance that you draw one of them. So a Fenrir plus this is always full Fiendmas combo, which is really nice. And sometimes you just have to normal summon the Fuvalos or the Perulia, and then with the Fenrir you add the Tear Cache, right? So you still have like a lot of interruption in the opponent turn, but because you go into Caesar, and then you have the Fiendmas and Paradise set up, and when you have a Merly or a Reinhardt or like any of these, then you can already set up the Tear Cache for potential Kaleido Heart in the opponent turn if you get lucky with the mills. So it's always nice to see one of these cards if you can normal summon them, I guess. It's not the end of the world if you draw them, that's what I mean to say. Sometimes you just break on them, but that's okay, that's a gamble you have to take. And yeah, that's the thing with Fenrir. I mean, you could already probably see where it's going. And yeah, more things that I want to talk about is the E-Reader combo. So how this works is you just put any two bodies to go, which one of these is the Fiendmas combo? You go any two bodies to go into Moon. And then you link off the Moon to go into Requiem. You activate the effect of Requiem to special summon Lacrima. And Lacrima is going to dump a Fiendmas Engraver into the graveyard. And now you have these in the graveyard. And then you can use the effect of Requiem attaching to the Lacrima. Use these two cards to go into, for example, the Necroquip. Not for example, you go into the Necroquip, and then you shuffle back the Moon of the Closed Heaven to summon the Engraver from the graveyard. And now you could make Caesar, but if Caesar is your only end board piece, I would be pretty worried about that. See that the Caesar is like kind of dead. So I personally wouldn't go Caesar here if these are my only card. But then the question is, what the fuck do you have on hand? But yeah, you can choose to go Caesar here and then have the Paradise set up in the opponent turn, or what you can do is you can just use it to go sequence, and then with the sequence you summon back, you take back the Lacrima and the Requiem. You can also use the Engraver if you want to, but then you have to keep the Lacrima in the graveyard, because Lacrima and Sequin, you can always get that back in the end fate for guaranteed Light Fiend. So if you put these into the extra deck, I know I put a monster here right now, let me put that here. Let's say this is on the board, this is in the graveyard, this is also in the graveyard. Then you can go into a Eerie Eater, and then Eerie Eater is going to dump Hashot or Hollow to the graveyard. And with this you will mill 2 cards, but usually you do this when you already have a Caesar on board, and then you mill 3 cards. And if you have like a Fenrir on board, you mill 4 cards and stuff like that. If you have a Kaleido Heart on board, you mill a lot more cards. 5 to be exact. So 6. So 5 I mean. Because 5 is like the maximum amount I feel like that I've gotten of the Hashot or Hollow, because you don't go into Sprint yet, and Sprint is your only fire. So you always mill 5 or 4 or 3 depending on what you have. I've never actually went this route where I only had these for Winda to mill 2, because I already had always had another body on the board. And yeah, so this is the Hashot or Hollow, and the reason why we play this is obviously the Eerie Eater. Are there any more combos? Because I feel like a lot of the TEARLAMENTS stuff is very, it's very freestyle. But I will show you the Grief combo for sure. So when you have Grief in the hand and a Tear Cache, which you have a lot of access to, you play 3 Fenrir, you play 2 Fiat Spell, but the Tribicama with the Foolish Good, so you play a little bit access to the Fiat Spell. So having that Tear Cache in hand, because you also play 3 copies of it, it's not that hard. So if you have Tear Cache and Grief, how do we turn this into a mill 5? You activate the effect of Grief to special summon TEARLAMENT Reinhardt, who's in the other thing here. And then you immediately dump the Reinhardt to the graveyard. And then you use the effect of TEARLAMENT Reinhardt as chaining 1, ask the opponent if he has any response. If he doesn't have the response, you go chaining 2 Tear Cache. If Tear Cache is the only TEARLAMENT card in the hand, then Reinhardt can still special itself, even though you do not have that Tear Cache in hand, because the activation conditions were met before. So you're just going to special the Tear Cache, banishing the TEARLAMENT Grief, and then special summon the Reinhardt. And now you go chaining 1 Reinhardt, chaining 2 Tear Cache, And the tier cache is going to mill 3 cards on the graveyard, and the Reinhardt is going to send the tier cache, which can mill 2 more. The good thing about the sequencing, the reason why we go chaining 1 Reinhardt, chaining 2 tier cache, is if we mill a Aqua Monster, we can send Hafner, Shiren, or Merly to make Kaleido Heart, which is really, really nice. So this is like a really nice combo with Grief, and this is also the reason why I play 2 Grief, simply because this combo is like very amazing. When you have Pelarino on the board, you want to make use of this one only Scream in order to pop your own Kaleido Heart, and when the Kaleido Heart hits the graveyard, you can just summon it back and then use the effect of Kaleido Heart to mill Scream. And Scream is going to add you a trap, which is going to be Soliak most of the time. And when you have Soliak, Pelarino, plus Kaleido Heart on the field, that's usually about 3 interruptions in the opponent turn. Because what you do is you have another fusion material to do. You usually have like either an Imseti in the graveyard, you have a Haldor Hollow in the graveyard, you have a Necroquip in the graveyard, or a Mud Dragon. And so what happens is you negate a monster effect, that's 1 interruption. You negate the monster effect, then you have to send the Kaleido Heart. You use the effect of Kaleido Heart to special itself back and send a Tearlament monster. So you mill, for example, Halfness, and then you go chaining 1 Halfness, chaining to Kaleido Heart to block them from using Dominant Impulse. You shuffle back a card with Kaleido Heart. That's 2 interruptions. 2. One negate and 1 shuffle back, which is weird interruptions. Because people currently are having trouble with interruptions that just put stuff either in the graveyard or back in the deck. So negating stuff is not really that strong, which is why Imperm Veiler and stuff is not that strong currently. But stuff like Kaleido Heart, Meta Noise, or Pelarino are completely broken. Then you use the Halfness, for example, that you milled with Kaleido Heart, shuffled back and use, for example, the Halfnet and the Imseti, or the Halfnet and the Necroquip to make either Mud Dragon or Dragostapedia, which will then, on resolution, trigger the Pelarino, because you shuffled back a Tearlament monster in the deck, to pop another card on the field. So those are already 3 interruptions from these cards alone. Not even talking about the fact that you could potentially summon a Dragostapedia, which then again is another interruption, which would be 4 interruptions. And usually, if you go through the Fiendsmith part of the deck, you will be able to have a Dragostapedia on the field because of the Necroquip. And this is like another layer of interruption that you can do. And it's also, this is like the thing, it's also very layered, and it's also very niche. Like the direction is just hard to deal with for the opponent. So this is just something you have to deal with. Do I have anything else that I want to show you guys? I don't think I have. If you have Modora or Kaido in the graveyard, you can shuffle back one of your Tearlament to pop with Pelarino, but I think you already know that. I told you about the chain blocking. There's not really a lot of things to say in Tearlaments because all of these cards, they mean a lot, but you can also use, for example, Fiendmith Track not only to discard Lurie, but you can also discard something like Soliak, Scream, the Black Gold Laugh, Trivikama. You can throw away the Rhino Heart and then have a Tear Cache in hand, for example, and in order to do that. So there's a lot of way to do this deck. So what I'm gonna do now is, I obviously have shuffled this deck. I have not shuffled the deck, I've sorted it. But what I will do is I will do 1 test hand, completely freestyle. In this video is a 1 take, so this is not like a butchered test hand where I perfectly drew the perfect cards. It's not like Imseti pitch Trivikama with Fenrir and Engraver in hand. This is not going to be that. At least I don't think so. We'll see. We'll see what the hand says. And then after looking at this hand and playing this, I will also try to explain some of the choices. I hope it's not a bad hand though, because that will be that will throw a bad shade on this deck. Because this deck is by no means bad. It's really, really strong, but it's just simply what you do with the deck. Because if you can play it very well, then then it's never bad. All right, so I'm gonna cut the cards here, and then I'll draw my hand. So we draw 1 card, 2 cards, 3 cards, 4 cards, and 5 cards. We are pretending that we are not getting hand trapped, and we are going first. So the Trivicama is already looking bad. But yeah, this hand is not the greatest. I can already tell you that. But it's okay. We can maybe get to there, depending on the mills, to be fair. So with this one, this is rough, but we can still go 2 bodies for Moon for sure. Now you're like, what? How do I do that? Yeah, with a Grieve, obviously. Duh. So here I would activate the effect of Grief to special summon a Reinhardt from the deck, and then immediately dump the Reinhardt to the graveyard, and use the effect to special summon it. And then we are dumping the other Reinhardt that we have in hand, and now we use the effect of Reinhardt to mill a Tearlament Kashtira. And now we have to see what these mills are. Obviously we have the Cold Buy, which is like really nice in case we get stopped somewhere in the tracks. Like if someone ashes or Fubalos the Grief, which they unfortunately can do, then this would be bad. But yeah, Tikash, mill 2. We mill Merly and the Black Gold Laugh, so this is not really that good. Because I don't want to make Kaleido Heart here, because Kaleido Heart doesn't do anything here. So I don't want to do that, and the Merly in the grave is already a huge downside, because that means we cannot really go with the Eerie Eater line 2. So we're kinda in a bad spot here. So I'm going to normal summon the Purulia. The Reinhardt gets banished if we try to put it in the graveyard. And then we're going into Moon of the Close Heaven, which goes for Fiend Myth Requiem. And then and this is like why I think the Fiend Myth engine is so necessary in the deck, that you can just like shit out so many bodies with just 2 random monsters on the field. So then you use the effect of Lacrima, dumping the Engraver in the graveyard, because we don't have any yet. And yeah, the Trivicama looks at me, and it's very sad to look at the Trivicama, but it's okay. And then you use the effect of Engraver and shuffle back the Moon, and you use Requiem on the Lacrima. And with these you can either make Contact Fusion, which I would do anyways. So I have a fusion monster in the graveyard in that way. We can technically go for Deathery here, but I don't have the Paradise here, so I kind of want to go for the Caesar here, because we still have like quite a lot of interruptions here actually. Because if we go into Caesar here, let me show you just what I have, because this hand was terrible. Keep in mind, this is a terrible hand. And we still end on Lacrima with the Requiem, which means it's a guaranteed Paradise, which sends any card in the opponent turn. We have a Caught by the Grave, and we have the Black Gold Laugh, together with the Caesar. We have Aqua access for Kaleido Heart, in case we ever need it in next turn. So this is not a great hand, and I'll see this right now. I'll just do another test hand, and like I'll do T3 test hand. Just to show you like some more consistency, because this is like not what I want to show you. But yeah, the Trivicama is very sad, because we do not play that many ways to get rid of the Trivicama. And this is where Shayama could come in very handy. I'm still debating if I want to play another brick, because Shayama is another brick, unfortunately. But he could get rid of the Trivicama, because you can just go Eerie Eater, and then Eerie Eater sends Shayama, and then you can set the Trivicama and pop it with the Shayama. And then you can go into Caesar anyways, while having Pelarino and 4 Tearlament combo. Because that way you can go Kaleido Heart, and then pop it with Pelarino, send Scream at Soliak. And then you have Kaleido Heart called by Soliak. So it would probably be a better board. It would probably be an inclusion. But yeah, I still have to test that around with the Shayama. But in theory, it's a good inclusion. It, however, plays a lot into Nibiru. Because if you get nipped on the sequence, then it just sucks a lot. But yeah, usually they don't do that, because they want to see what you're like try to summon. Anyways, I'll do another test hunt. So we draw 5 cards again. We hope that these are like a little bit better than the last ones. We again draw the Trivicama, that's crazy. But now we have a good discard follow for it. We have the Imseti. So this hand, I can already tell you, this hand's going crazy. Without knowing that this hand's going crazy. So we have multiple ways of playing this. If I'm being very honest with you guys, if I would be in a real game of Yu-Gi-Oh, I would normal summon this Larry. I would normal summon this Larry, go into Caesar before going into the Horus place, just to see what the enemy has. Like the thing. Okay, let me show you this. if you go normal summon Larry, and this is also one of these things why I want to take this to German nationals, because it's such a noob check for a lot of people that don't know, like even good people are getting noob checked with the deck, because they don't know why to interrupt, because frankly, they don't know what you're playing. Yes, I have the TEARLAMENTS sleeves, which I'll probably get rid of, because of the fact that, I mean, it would be very obvious what I'm being playing, what I would be playing. But if I normal summon this Larry, and they're like, sure, then I go into the Requiem, I use the effect of Requiem, special summoning the Lacrima from the deck. And then I use the effect of Lacrima to send the Engraver. Now, this is already a nip check, not a nip check, an Imperm or Veiler check. Yes, this is an Ash check, this is a Fuvalos check. Like, you check for so many hand traps, and while you're checking for these hand traps, it allows you to make a decision on what you're going to do next. Now you go Requiem, equip to Lacrima, make a contact fusion, go into Nekoko Princess, and then you are going to shuffle back the favored Lurie, and special summon the Engraver. And again, you have Lacrima, Requiem for Paradise next turn. That's really, really awesome. Like, that's the reason why I don't do that already in the third turn usually. And then you check for Nip here, which is really great, because a Nip check is always great. And then you go into Caesar, and now you're fine. Like, now you can start cooking. So now, even if this Mseti gets ashed somehow, right, you still have the King's Arc. So you go Mseti, pitch Trivikama, which kind of let them know, okay, this guy's probably on TEARLAMENTS. But yeah, Mseti, pitch Trivikama, and then we draw another card. So let's see what we draw. Can be anything, really. We cut the deck, so we're not cheating. And then we draw into Monshami Fuvalos. So that's fine, because, again, this is a random chance. So now we activate the King's Arc, and before we pitch anything, in order to play around Ghost Ogre, for example, we are going to special them Mseti. And then I'm going to activate King's Arc, pitching the Fuvalos to put the Harpy in the graveyard. So here you have to make a decision to either, this is really nice too, because you can decide if you want to put Harpy or Duamutef in the graveyard. But in this case, if I would have Harpy on the end board, I would probably not have like anything crazy to add back. So I would rather have the Duamutef and draw into better cards. This is what I mean. We discard the Fuvalos. We already have King's Arc in our hand. We already have Soliak in our hand. We have Fiendmask cards in rotation. So Harpy is going to the grave. Duamutef is going to the grave in the end phase to special him. So what actually can we draw? We can draw TEARLAMENT cards, which are all good. We can draw the good Fiendmask card, Tracked Engraver. We can draw more Msetis. We can also draw like something like Called By. We can draw non-engine. So that is really, really great. This is also one of the reasons why I potentially want to play Draw Lockbird. Because if you go to Amatef, draw into Draw Lockbird, it's fiercely awesome. But yeah, we special the Harpy. We overlay these. And you see we always go through our exceeds first. And this is like also the nice thing that I go through my exceeds very, very fast, very swift. Then we use this and mill 4 cards, and then we special a monster from it. So this is Reinhardt, another Mseti, the Fuvalos, and Grief. Doesn't do anything here, to be fair. But I will be not specialing the Reinhardt, because I will be using this to special summon with the Soliak. So I'm just going to special summon the Mseti here. Because in case that I get stopped here, I still have, it would still be fine. And then I pitch the Soliak, and then I go, do I have the Fuvalos, Perulia? No, I don't have an Aqua here, actually. So I would probably not go for the Reinhardt effect. Could still do it, though. Yeah, I go chain the one Reinhardt to Soliak, I don't care. Soliak at Meteorcache. And Reinhardt is going to dump the Tearcache. So we don't have Pearl on the field, which is quite sad. So currently you don't have any, like you cannot go into the Kaleido Heart because we don't have an Aqua. What we could have done is activate Trivikama already to have the Pearl and then with Soliak add an Aqua monster, dump an Aqua monster, and then we would have the Kaleido Heart access. It's probably a line that could have been done too, but I want to follow up, and my board is already broken enough. You will see what my board ends on, by the way. We add this, shuffled. I don't know if I cut the deck. And then we use the effect of Tearcache to mill 2. And now we have Aqua access, so that's really, really good. Yeah, then we can use the effect of Trivikama to add a spell trap that mentions either Starfrost, which is going to be either Grieve or Pelarino. It depends really if you want to have the the Collider Heart on the field currently, but I kind of want to have Pelarino here because Pelarino is really a little bit stronger here, a wee bit stronger. And then I am going to, how many Tikash do I have in rotation though? I think I only have 2 in rotation, yeah. I'm going to use Primeval Planet to add myself the 3rd Tikash. And you see Tikash get so important because you add 1, special 1 in your turn, mill 1 in your turn, special 1 in opponent turn. That's usually how it goes with Tikash. But yeah, now we shuffle our deck. We also thinned out our deck a lot already. So I'm going to cut this. We're not gonna use King Thark to pitch the thing though. And then I'm going to, do I have the Reinhardt and Grieve? I don't think so. No, I don't. So I cannot go into, oh, I can actually. I'm just going to use these 2 to go into Moon of the Close Heaven already. You will see in a second why. And then, because we need board space in case we mill something good. And then Tikash is going to banish Soliak. In case we get the Grief mill. Because we play 2 Grief, so yeah. Effect Tikash to mill 3. Perulia, Fenrir, and Foolish Goods. So it's not a great mill, but it's okay. That is fine. And we see, okay. So now you have multiple choices. I kinda want to go into Kaleido Heart though, instead of the thing. Okay, so we do this, we go into sequence. And then use the effect of sequence to shuffle back Moon of the Closed Heaven. And now you have to make a decision. If you want to shuffle back your one of these or an engraver, but no, actually we don't have an engraver here. Never mind, I'm stupid. So you have to make a decision here, which one to shuffle back. I personally would always shuffle back the Requiem, because the sequence will be in the grave anyway, and if the Lacrima is in the graveyard, in the end phase you can always go Lacrima special sequence, and then have a Light Fiend to go into Requiem and go full Fiend combo again. So I personally would shuffle these back for an Eerie Eater, and you always put Eerie Eater in a zone that's not the middle or the right zone. And then you use the effect of Eerie Eater to send Hellshot or Hollow. And then we are going to shuffle our deck. And you see our deck is like, let's make a count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27. So we play 50 card deck with 27 cards in our deck. So we essentially, after this Hollow resolves, we milled over half our deck, which is crazy work. Anyways, I'm going to cut my deck. And then we're going to use the effect of Hellshot or Hollow. We do have water, wind, and light on the field, which is 3 mills. So we go 1, 2, and 3. So we milled the Merly that we would have used anyway to go into the sprint and Merly. But now we already have it here. So we're going to use Merly, a Molcharmi Perulia, and the Reinhardt that got special summons would get banished now. To go into the Kaleido Heart. So these are mills. We go into Kaleido Heart, and then Pearl is going to pop the Kaleido Heart. Kaleido Heart comes back, and now you have to check if you have enough Soliaks here. 1 Soliak is banished, 1 is milled, and the rest is not here. Scream has not milled yet, or has not been milled yet. So you dump the Scream, and then you use the effect of Scream to add the 3rd Soliak. This is also why you sometimes go into multiple rounds of Soliaks. You can also go into a Meta Noise here, in case you want to fusion very badly into the opponent turn. But let me tell you, it's not really that much needed because of the fact that Soliak does the same thing. Because you can with Soliak you can send the Kaleido Heart, and Kaleido Heart can send just in half and Merly Shiren and make a fusion summon the opponent turn. So now you obviously don't want to end on the Eerie Eater and the sequence because it doesn't really do much for you. So you have multiple choices here. You can theoretically go if you're really funny, go into Agnum Day, but you usually don't do that. You can also go into Sprint if you wanna use the Caesar for like a special summon negate once and use Sprint for bounce once. That's what you can do. But in this case, I would probably just go for the SP and call it a day, because there's nothing really much you can do with the extra deck. So you just go these into SP, and then you have the Lacrima and Sequence in the graveyard. You have a Fusion in the graveyard if you want to go into Dragostapedia. You have the Hollow in the graveyard if you want to go into Winda in the opponent turn. You can also go Mud Dragon if by shuffling back the Zombie Vampire or the Imseti. You have multiple choices here. Now, because I'm feeling very safe with this board, I do want to play on the opponent turn and make sure that my board is very safe. I'm going to use the effect of King Sark, discarding the King Sark to put the Duamotev in the graveyard and then special do Duamotev. So now I have also your special summon in a zone that is either this zone or this zone. It's fine if he's in the anima zones, because no one's going to take Duamotev. But the Winda or the Dragostapelia you summon the opponent turn, that's gonna would be in the middle zone. So after this turn, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. We have 23 cards in the deck, which is less than half of our deck. Yeah, we set the Soliak. I'm gonna set it in the middle, and then we have a Tikash in hand. So with this, we have insane setup in the opponent turn with these cards. I don't think we have a shuffler or anything. No, we don't, but doesn't matter. And then we have a Soliak, Kaleido Heart, Kaleido shuffle something, Soliak negate something, we have SP banish. In case he tried to break our board, he can go to Amutev. So if he tried to break the board, we can chain Tikash, and then we draw 4 cards, which is crazy. Caesar negate, you have King Sark protecting Duamotev from AoE damage. Rhino pop, and as I said, insane follow-up and stuff. So that is virtually not breakable, except if he draws like, because it's also layered. Like if he gets rid of the monsters on the board, he still has to get or like he has to make sure that the graveyard is not live, because I do have an engraver all the time under my Caesar that is always going to be there if I link off the Caesar or if the Caesar gets destroyed somehow. So yeah, this was a pretty nice sequencing. And a nice example of what the deck is capable of doing when it plays a little bit. I say a little bit because my end boards can look stronger. You can end with everything. You can end with Winda, with Desiree, with Kaleido, Solier, Meta Noise. You can end with a lot of things. Shufflers and Graveyard, Black Gold and Graveyard. You can end with a lot. But that's obviously a bit overkill sometimes. A lot of times actually. So yeah. I'm gonna shuffle my bad boy here once more, and then do the third tap turn, because I said I made 3, just so we have the right amount of test hands. And then I'm going to cut the deck and draw cards, and we'll see how the hand looks like. So the in the other hand, by the way, we normal summoned Larry. That was all from one normal summon Larry. This is a really great hand because it will showcase what I mean with the Fenrir and the Perulia. That's really nice. That's a really nice tap hand. I like that one. So with this hand, you special summon the Fenrir, and then you activate the effect of Fenrir to get the Tikash, obviously, before you do that. Normal summon Lurry, not Lurry, but Molcharmi, Perulia. They add the Tikash, and your hand is Hafner, Tearlament Kashtira, the Black Gold Laughs, and King Sark. You normal summon the Perulia, and now you go Fiendmans combo, because, as I said before, the Fiendmans combo checks so many Moon into Requiem. The Fiendmans combo checks so many hand traps that you can be very sure what's going to like resolve the next time you try to do something here. Your special Lacrima. Use the effect of Lacrima, dump an Engraver, and then use the effect of Engraver, shuffling back Moon of the Cloud Heaven. Use Requiem and Lacrima to go into Neko Crypt Princess. I'm going to do it a little bit faster now, so we can get the third game going here. Neko Crypt and Engraver is going to make the Caesar, and then you are fine like this essentially. So what you do now is you are obviously going to use the King Sark, and again, you see how the setup looks like. I have 3 Fenrir, 3 King Tharg, so and 3 Mthetis. So a lot of these boards will look the same, right? You make the Fiendmas stuff, and then you activate the horror stuff. And with the Fiendmas and the horror stuff, you check everything, every hand trap, everything. You check everything. And the great part is that the horror cards are so broken because they are not playing into any Molch army, except Molch army Meowers. But they don't inherently play into Molch armies, which means that people have to use Molch armies preemptively. So if you use King Tharg now to pitch the black gold, which is an insane discard by the way, and you put the Mceti on the graveyard, for example, and now you look at the enemy, you're like, anything here. And if he goes Meowers, then you just don't have to special the Mceti. It's fine like that. Then you can just special Halfness from hand if you want to, or like Tikash. So now you go this. I mean, you special the Mceti obviously, and then you dump the Harpy to the graveyard. Already saw that guy earlier, and then you do this, overlay Zombie Vampire. Very simple, very no, I would not say boring, but it's your game plan. Every deck has a game plan. This is my game plan in this deck. You will see this very often. I go into Caesar, I protect myself against the Bureau, I check for a lot of hand traps, and then I go into Zombie Vampire. And with Zombie Vampire, I can just take off. Yeah, we cut the deck before we mill, and then we mill 4 cards, special summon one of these monsters. Like, this is crazy, by the way. So we have a nice mill. This is also why I play 3 Soliek, by the way. Because you thin out your deck a lot by using the Fiendmas cards. Kashtira Fenrir also gets the Tikash to the hand, so you straighten out your deck a bit too. And then you can mill the Soliek, and like the good mills. And the Duamotev is really nice. That means we don't have to discard another thing. I'm just obviously going to special the Engraver or the Duamotev, doesn't matter because I can just link it off anyways, and then special it again with King Tharg. And use the effect of Soliek to add, for example, a Reinhardt. Because, I mean, we have Nomad already, but having Reinhardt in hand is always nice for follow-up turns. But that's the only like downside of it, that you already use your normal sum, because sometimes you really want to have the Reinhardt normal sum, but doesn't matter, because if we now mill a Tearlament monster, remember we have Perulia in the graveyard already, we have Halfness in the graveyard already, so this Reinhardt just make Kaleido hard life. That's really nice. Obviously we don't have Pelarena or Soliek to trigger it, but it's fine. So with this I could go Tikash now, which I will probably do. Tikash banish Soliek. Just to check what else I can mill, essentially. Tikash, special Tikash, banish this, effect Tikash, mill 3. 1, 2, 3. And you see the mills are not that great. They're kind of low quality, but okay. And now what's really nice about that is with the Zombie Vampire, if you have an extender plus Zombie Vampire, you can go into the Winda log anyway. So with this you can actually you don't have to go through, this is really nice. You don't have to go through Moon of the Closed Heaven because you milled the Engraver. So Engraver can actually be a really nice mill of the Zombie Vampire if you can special it, because that means you can just use the Engraver and the Zombie Vampire right now to make, for example, also the Seti is in the graveyard. You make Engraver and Zombie Vampire, or Engraver and Tirkash into Hellshadow Hollow, into sequence, which then makes Ariate and stuff like that. So you go sequence, use the effect of sequence, shuffling back, in this case the Engraver, because we already have one under the Caesar, and again the Fiendman's Requiem. I want to keep the Lacrima in the graveyard, in case I need to do some more special summons. So otherwise it would be the Moon, but this time it's the Engraver. And then you go Eerie Eater, under the sequence, you use the effect of Eerie Eater, send Hellshadow Hollow. And now you have 4 attributes on the field, which is crazy, because that means it's mill 4. If we would have, for example, Fire or Earth here, like a Fenrir, then it would be mill 5. But you never really have a Fire with a deck, unless some grotesque circumstances, but you don't really have that. Yeah, effect Hellshadow Hollow, mill 4. Merly, Soliek, and nothing important. So it's really funny that we always mill the Merly if we, like, after we don't want to mill it, but I guess that's fine. Then you use the effect of Merly. Oh, that's actually not that good here, actually. Because the thing about Merly right now is I want to go into Winda, but with this hand and stuff, I don't have a choice. Like, I cannot go Winda on the opponent turn. So that kind of sucks for me. So this Merly actually becomes quite the nightmare here, if I'm being honest with you guys. But I do have Black Gold Laugh, so I'm like fine. So I go Merly, Headshot or Holo, shuffle this back into deck, go into Winda. Shadow Winda. And now I have to make a decision. Do I want to have Duamutep on the field or do I want to have SP? And obviously this depends on what the enemy milled. If he milled any like crazy combo piece that he can use in his turn, or that are just really good if they get banished, you can just banish them with SP and call it a day. Otherwise, the Duamutep that you milled before is going to be very important here. Because obviously this is not a good like board itself because you only have the Caesar, the Winda, which is like crazy good though. You have the Black Gold Laugh. So you don't have that many interactions actually. But what you don't have to like, what you have to keep in mind, you have to do Duamutef. And this is where I feel like Duamutef makes so much sense in this deck. Because the moment your opponent tried to play into this board, you will draw 5 cards. Like, thank you Fenrir, thank you Fuvalos, who doesn't do anything, thank you Zodiac, thank you Tract, thank you Reinhardt. Like, you will just draw these cards for free. And then you just draw another follow-up card and then it's like just GG. Because no one can break this board. ODK, like, if they can ODK you, it's really nice. But they have to break this entire board and even King Thark, it doesn't matter, you have full combo next turn. So it is really like funny how the deck plays out, I feel like. And especially if you play into boards or against hand traps and stuff, you will feel the strength of the deck because you see these monsters and you're like, yeah, that's not really a strong board. Yeah, it's not really a strong board if you play against 6 cards, but the enemy will interrupt you with hand traps. And the moment the enemy interrupts you with hand traps, you will see how strong this like deck goes. Because if he goes Meows, then you're not summoning your horror monsters. So you have your or if he imperm zombie vampire, sure, I just go continue afterward and stuff like that. Like, or if he bestials, if for some reason someone would play bestial, if he bestials your stuff in the graveyard, sure, I can just continue with something else. Like, you have 3 different engines that all do 3 very different things, but also coexist very nice with each other because of the Tearlament cards. And this is the reason why I like this deck a lot and why I like this combination a lot. But yeah, this might be still one of the reasons to play Shayama, because if I go Irida Mill Shayama, then or if I mill Shayama randomly, then I can go into Kaleido Heart and then pop it with Shayama. That's an option that I'm not willing, that I'm willing to do, but I'll see about it later. I'm not sure if I want to do that already. But yeah, that's the video. Thank you for watching my Tearlament video. We'll put Merly on the top here. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, then please leave them down in the comment below. I think this deck is going to be quite strong at German National. Obviously, it's kind of inconsistent if you compare it to Malice, Mitsurugi right there, or any other deck that runs 50 plus starters. But it is really, really good against the current environment, I feel like. There's no Bestial, there's no Dweller, there's no Shifter, essentially. So I think the environment is really, really nice. And the deck is going to be phenomenal, I think. Especially if I tinker a little bit more with it and see if I can maybe do some changes to the main deck and the extra deck, and also the side deck is going to be very important, then I think that deck can really, really pop off. Because I've been having a lot of like success at Dueling Book, so that's really, really nice too. And IRL testing also goes really well. But yeah. Without further ado, I don't want to bore you too much. It already was 1 hour 24 minutes. So thank you a lot for watching. If you have any questions, again, leave them in a comment down below. Otherwise, thank you for watching and have a great day. Goodbye.